Hey, welcome, and thank you for listening to us on Right, Wrong, or Indifferent. This is my review series starting out. So, we're talking about different podcasts that I really like and kind of talking about what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and maybe you'll find some information in there that will be helpful for you. Maybe not, who knows? Let me know what you think. Anyway, the one we're starting out with today is actually quite a few. Because I started writing these down and I realized that not that they're the same podcast, but you can kind of lump them together in maybe a genre sort of sense. Because these ones I don't necessarily always listen to regularly, but I always go to if I'm kind of reaching for content and there's nothing kind of particular on my mind that I want to research or look into. Just have some fun and maybe laugh a little bit. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you could even name even more than that we're going to talk about today. The ones here are The Fighter and the Kid, Theo Vaughn's podcast, Chris D'Elia, Burt Kreischer, even Bill Burt to some degree. I don't really want to include Bill in this one because he doesn't necessarily cross into these rivers with these other comedians as much as they kind of go into each other's, which is kind of where the magic really does happen. It's amazing when you get these people together and they start laughing and telling stories and telling jokes about each other. It's fucking hilarious. The first one I want to start off with is The Fighter and the Kid with Brennan Schaub and Brian Callen. I've actually seen Brian Callen live. Was literally in the second row, but it was like the first row. He was like a foot away from me, so shout out, Brian. It was an awesome show, man, and come back to Denver. Brendan, you too, bud. You got to get it back to Denver, man. It's never seen you, and I want to see you live, bud. But these two are awesome. They feed off each other's chemistry really well, especially for two people who've been doing a podcast together for a long time. Some of the shows, I do feel like they are kind of reaching for content a little bit, like they just kind of walked in that day and decided to talk. So some of it can be a little bit not as funny as other stuff, I guess is really to put it. I don't want to be too critical because they do a great job providing regular content, which is really hard to do, especially if you're not in a specific genre. It's amazing any of the shows where Chris comes on and talks to Brian or talks to Brendan are hilarious. They just roast each other the whole time, and it is so funny. It is so funny. Same thing with Theo comes on the show. They roast each other, and then Burt always has great stories. So any of the Fighter of the Kids with any of those other comedians on, Fire the Kid with Theo, Fire the Kid with Chris, Fire the Kid with Burt, all those are amazing, and I would highly recommend if you're just looking for some laughs. That's what I would do. So for Theo Vaughn's podcast, it's very good. I really like his a lot. One thing he does on his own is he actually talks about a little bit of self-help kind of situations, which is interesting because when you start really listening to these people's problems and they're talking about them with Theo, he shows a lot of compassion and understanding in that there's no really right or wrong or kind of rhyme or reason necessarily to the way we are. We kind of just are the way we are. And I really appreciate Theo's grace and compassion when dealing with people because I think that that's missing in our world, in our community, more than anything, is having compassion for people who are willing to open up and talk about their problems. So thank you, Theo, for putting that place out there for people to come and go and talk to you. That's incredible. For laughs, too, Theo's wonderful. He has a very unique sense of humor. And any of his shows with Chris or Brendan or Brian are hilarious. They just cannot stop roasting each other. I love it when Theo roasts with Brendan. Oh my god. Some of the names he calls him, like a Nordstrom Strack mechanic. Oh my god. That's too funny. Can't recommend Theo's podcast enough for laughs, especially with those other guys on it. Again, when they're together, they just kill. Chris D'Elia's podcast, he has an individual podcast where he doesn't really interview anybody. He just kind of talks about what's on his mind. What I like about it is he riffs a lot. He riffs a lot on different types of comedy, different types of things he's kind of practicing, you can tell, and seeing what he can kind of get. He's really pushing things in the comedy world and trying new things. And it almost doesn't feel like it because he is so mainstream, but I really do feel like Chris's comedy is unique in the sense that he incorporates a lot of different social media aspects. And I like how he doesn't really give a shit about what anyone thinks about him. That's very inspiring to me. He can go up there and talk and riff about things and people can talk shit about him, but he honestly just doesn't really care. And that's empowering to see someone in that position to not give a crap, because we're so tempted to give a crap all the time about everything. Burt Kreischer podcast. And again, Chris, anytime he's on anyone else's podcast, it's hilarious. Burt's, Theo's, anyone. Burt's podcast is really good as well. I like Burt Kreischer a lot. This is actually newer to me. I have known about him for a long time, but I've just recently started getting into his comedy. What I like about Burt more than any of these other comedians we've kind of talked about is he kind of has this laugh out loud sense about his comedy. Like, it's not funny to him unless you're busting out laughing, crying. That's the only situation for him that works. If it's just a little bit funny, he has to take it to the next level and make it even more funny. It's great. And you can find a lot of these podcasts on YouTube. If you're looking for them first time without subscribing to them, you can find them there. I'm sure you can find them on Google Play as well and on iTunes. Audience for these people could be anybody. Anybody. If you're having a bad day, just tune these people in and you will start to laugh for sure. So, pros and cons about these podcasts, and I'm kind of am wrapping these into one, so I am definitely generalizing about these four, which isn't necessarily totally fair, because each one of their podcasts, although they're all comedians, they're very, very much nuanced to their specific personalities and kind of what they exude over time. Kind of like, for example, you just learn people's personalities after you listen to them talk for 40 episodes or so. There's a certain amount of nuance that you just can't get in a 10 to 15 minute discussion about them. Essential info for these guys, they're all comedians. So if you're looking for people funny, this is it. Check out their tour dates, subscribe to them, go see their live shows. I can't recommend any of them enough to anybody. Kind of cons for these is I do find, again with any content, it's not so much of an oversaturation, it's just finding what works for you. You're not going to find every joke funny, and you're not going to find every discussion interesting. But they can kind of lean to each person's personality. So the fighter and the kid, no offense to Brendan or Brian, but if you like dick jokes, they're the dick joke guys for sure. They love making dick jokes. They do it every single day. And Theo's more of a self-help guy, so even though he's going to make jokes about things and talk about, almost even embarrassing things and make jokes about it, it's not in a bad light. It's in how do we talk about it, move forward together as a community, which, again, I can't say enough good things about Theo. Chris's personality, he just doesn't give a fuck. He's trying to make you mad. He's trying to make you rage. He wants you to get upset and message him on Instagram or anything just to give him fodder. He just wants fodder to fuck with you. And Burt, again, just a laugh out loud funny guy. If you walk into Burt's podcast, his show, any of that stuff, and you're not having fun, I can tell you right now that Burt is not happy with that. Just because of his attitude towards entertainment is amazing. He just wants everyone to have a great time. And what I love about all of these podcasts is they really are inclusive. We're talking about people here who push the boundaries on what you can actually say sometimes, but they're not specifically bringing people down. They're not specifically trying to start a political fight or anything. They're literally creating good entertainment for people who are sick of the status quo and they want a little bit of edge. But hey, I'm curious to know what your experiences are. So please email me if you have any questions about these podcasts that we've talked about today. But I'd like to hear what you have to think. So please ask me questions. Shoot me an email at rightwronginfo@gmail.com. Or tell me about your own experience with these podcasts. If you think they're funny or you have anything else I missed out about these two. Again, I'm sure there's like 6 people, well, hopefully more than 6, yelling at their iPod telling me that I'm doing something wrong here. But what podcast do you want me to review besides these? Is there something you want me to listen to and shine more light on? Please let me know. I'll be more than happy to listen to it and give my thoughts. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Please recommend this to your friends, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And if you have any questions about the podcast or the direction, please email me at rightwronginfo@gmail.com. Thank you so much, friends. Have a great day.